I'm both excited and nervous about this. This is the first public webinar that I've done in a very long time. I used to do them in a previous life many years ago. And so hopefully I'll be able to add some value for you and really have some fun together. We are going to be covering today Supabase secrets, mock Supabase data you may have seen in the Discord chat. People talking about mock Supabase data, we'll be talking about that. We're going to be doing some quick troubleshooting techniques and how to handle that. Appreciate it, Lee. Thank you. All the energy I can get from you guys, it will be great. And then each week on these calls, I'm going to talk about, at the end of the call, I'm going to talk about something I learned this week that I didn't know last week. Which in the world and the ecosystem that we are in, it probably should be something I learned this hour that I didn't know the last hour. But I'm going to pick something each week to just go, ha, this was a bit of an aha moment. You're welcome, Vincent. So let's get started. We're a few minutes after. The room is filling up. And I did press record. Yes, I did. Good. Supabase billing for me this week. Right. Yes. Supabase billing is a bit of an aha moment. Maybe I'll cover that while we're talking about Supabase, because when your apps start working, they also start billing. So let me make sure I've got the right screen. Can everyone see my screen? I'm really punishing myself here. First time for a long time doing a webinar. I'm using new software. And so just put a one in the chat if you can see my screen. You should see something that says 98.5% success rate. Perfect. Awesome. See, I've learned from Terence the put a one in the chat thing like that. It's a quick way of responding. And this is going to be a little bit higher tech than just starting out. Stick with us. You're going to pick up some great techniques. And I will be doing some more videos on what to look out for when you're getting started and things like that. And make sure you and everyone else that's listening is subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'll quickly shove that in the chat. YouTube.com. My YouTube channel has about 2 or 3 videos added to it every day. They are all famous and Supabase related. So my whole ecosystem for the last 6 weeks or so, or maybe it's not even been that long, is famous focused. And so everything is relevant to you if you are in this call. All right, let's get started. And we're going to look at making sure that our Supabase is connected to famous, first of all, because if it's not, then you're not going to have such a good time. And so under dashboard, and I can't show you that. No, I can't show you that. So the important thing is when you're starting up a new system, you want to make sure that you are connected to Supabase. You're going to go into settings and then right at the bottom, settings of your actual account. And at the bottom, it's going to show you that you're connected to Supabase. And this is not the project I want to be working on. One of the feature requests I've given to the team is I want to be able to categorize all of my projects, because as you'll see, I have quite a few. And let's do this. Let's start a brand new project. Can someone throw me an idea in the chat for a simple project that will use Supabase? Just first one, and we're going to take it. Simple project, something that just needs a database. Well, but let's just create a system that has a login for clients. Why would they need a login? Because they want to get today's coupon codes, for example. So we would normally not just start typing into the prompt here. We would use the prompt wizard, a builder here that I've created, and we would brainstorm the idea. But I don't want to use up all of the time for the webinar brainstorming an idea that's just going to be a test. And so I'm not going to do that for here. For those of you who didn't know, this prompt builder is free for everyone to use, and it will work with you to brainstorm your idea and to kick out the other end a perfect prompt just for famous. And it will include all the things like adding Supabase, any other APIs that you need, and it's going to create you the perfect prompt. Please create a simple web app that has a backend login system using Supabase so that people can see a private status message in the logged in area. Please also create an admin area that allows me to see users' details. So in the user table, please use is_admin. So what this is we're basically telling it that we're going to create a user table, and in that user table, we're going to have a column called is_admin, and that's going to be a bool field, which is a true false type field. And so that way we can set my user as an admin, and everyone else's users would just be a user, and then they'll be able to flick, or I'll be able to see things that the normal users can't see. So let me send that to Famous, and I'll catch up on these chats. Any way to increase the clarity of your share? It's a bit blurry. Good question. I see what you mean. Well, let me do this, because that is actually a camera rather than me sharing my screen. So let me also share my screen. And what is that? Oh, no, that isn't what we want. Now you can see everything. Oh dear, that's like Wizard of Oz showing behind the curtain back there. There we go. Let's see what. Yes. Well, let's do this. Let's go here. Now you're seeing how rookie I am at webinars, and I apologize. And Lee, I did see your question. I'll give you that in just a second. What am I on? Desktop one. Why can't I share just one of my windows in Chrome rather than all of them? I'm not going to be able to fix that right now. I would promise you I will fix it for the next one. I'm so sorry. Just because I don't want to lose time in my webinar skills. Awesome. Thank you. So the link to the AI prompt builder is coming into the chat. And why that's happening, let's go ahead and look at how this is doing. Let me see if I can make this screen bigger. All right, so it's doing all its stuff. It's building everything. And what it's going to do when it finishes up this, it knows that we need Supabase, but it's not going to connect Supabase in the outset. It's going to basically create what we call mock Supabase data. And that mock Supabase data is going to allow us to basically just test it out, make sure the look and feel is right before we start connecting Supabase. And so that's the problem that a lot of people have been having is, sorry, lost my screen. That's the problem that everyone's been having is that, well, my data isn't changing when I change it in the database. And so, for example, I'm going to be able to log in here. I haven't even connected this to Supabase yet. I'm going to be able to log in here. Oh, well, I would have been able to if we didn't get an error, but you normally be able to log in with any username and password because it's just mock data. In this case, it's thrown us an error anyway. And so now we're going to say, please do not use mock Supabase data and connect to a new project. And so this is now going to set up the supabase.ts file, which is going to have a non-key and so forth for the project. Here we go. So it's asked me now, which of these projects do I want to connect to? And as you can see, I've been using this a bit. We're going to create a new project, and it's going to go off to Supabase and create that new project for us. Well, it should have done, but it's complaining. Have I hit my limit on projects? That's possible. Let me see out of here which of these is a test that I can delete. Login status, admin. I think this one is a test. It has no tables. So if you're on the free version, you can only have one project. If you're on the paid version, apparently I just hit that limit. And so I'm now having to delete a project so that this works. The joys of demoing things live. You just, that's still not working. What of these can I connect this to that isn't going to mess up? You know what? Let's just live dangerously. Why don't we go to the project that is in the prompt builder? So that prompt builder was written completely in, I'm probably going to regret this, but that prompt builder was written in Famous. And so here it is. This is the live. Sean, I don't know. This is the first time I've come to that. And we are actually going to look at Supabase billing. Someone mentioned Supabase billing earlier, and you'll see I expected, because I'm paying for it, that there isn't a limit. And so I need to look into that. So I don't know what the limit is. We will find out. Well, I will find out and let you know if there is one. It could just be that my account is having an issue, and I guess we'll see that when we get to the invoicing side of that part. So now we've got this connected. We have a login, and the login is going to this particular account here. And in here, there's a few things that we need to do when we're starting a new project. And the first is to go over to authentication and go into email, go into sign-in providers and go down to email and switch off the confirm email system. And the reason you want to do this is because you're going to get really horrible, spammy looking confirmation emails sent to you and later on to your clients. And until that's configured properly, that's not going to look good. And so here's the thing, you want to turn that off, get everything set up perfectly, get everything onto your domain name that you want to get onto, and then set up something like Mailgun or any of the other SMTP providers so that your mail is going through Mailgun and not Supabase. You'll find that if you don't do that, your confirmation emails are one, are going to look spammy, two, are going to end up in the spam folder, and they're not going to be utilized. I'm not switching mine off here because I have configured it and it is working. Raina, yes, this is recorded. It's probably not going to be put on my YouTube channel. It will only be sent to the people that registered for it because of the certain content that I'm going to be giving out. So yes, you'll be able to go back over everything I'm saying for committing to be here. And so yes, you'll get an email later on this afternoon as long as you use the right email address for registering. So we're in Supabase now, and we were going to be looking at secrets. And when I first started with Famous, which sounds like it was years ago, but in fact it was just weeks ago, I was telling Famous to create an integrations table in the database. And then in that integrations table, that's where we're going to store OpenAI keys, Go High Level keys, whatever API keys. And I was creating this table for the API keys to be stored in. And then obviously the code was able to access those keys when it needed it. And this is completely the wrong way of doing it. And that is where secrets come in. On the left-hand side of your project, you're going to have edge functions. And in edge functions, you'll see I've got quite a lot of functions here where this particular system is connecting to the chatbot. It's creating a user profile. It's connecting to Go High Level. It's connecting to my YouTube. So if you go to Prompt Builder, there's the video vault on the left-hand side, which is constantly bringing in all the new videos that are in a particular playlist. And that's using the Google API to come in. So there's an API key there too. And so all of these are called functions. They're called edge functions. And these edge functions, camera view at the beginning had better clarity than the screen share view. I think I stopped screen sharing, didn't I? I think I'm not screen sharing anymore. Or maybe I am. Give me 1 second. See if I can make this better for you. Now, the problem is you're now seeing everything on my screen, right? Or is that still... Stop that. And I promise you, I will work on this in the next few days to get this better. Expect an invite to a test webinar where I can get a better view. Horizontally transform to screen. That's not going to work because now. Sorry, guys. I can do this. Maybe you won't see the bottom of my screen, but at least it'll make it a little bit bigger. All right, I'm going to continue. So edge functions are the brains of the system where it's not just a static page. It's actually going to do something. It's going to interact with your database. It's going to interact with a third party. That sort of thing is an edge function. And then edge functions are controlled by secrets. And secrets are where you store all of those keys. And this is where your front-end system can interact with the back-end system, which can then interact with the secrets to connect. So if you wanted to create a trained bot that connects to the OpenAI API, what you're going to do is you're going to create a secret for your OpenAI API, and then you're going to connect that up to your training table. So in table editor, you're going to have a bot training table, and I'm going to, again, open up the curtain here of how the prompt wizard works. There is a whole set of training, a personality training here in the bot training, and at any time I'm analyzing when I'm using, I'm analyzing the response I expect and the response I'm getting, and then I'm going back into here and retraining it by editing the training. And so this training was created on the 16th. Do we have an updated date? We don't have an updated date, but I'm updating it literally daily to make sure that it is constantly being useful for people, and people have had great results with it. And you'll see here, and I can't show you this table because this was last week, literally last week, I was using an integrations table, which was wrong because there your keys are in a table in a database, not necessarily the most secure way of keeping keys, but also not the easiest way of actually retrieving those keys, because now the backend system has to do an SQL query to find out what the key is before it can even do something. Whereas with the edge functions, they're loaded into the system memory so that it can pick them up really quickly. So back to edge functions, secrets, that is where you're going to be storing all of your API keys for your system. Does anyone have any questions regarding that part of the process? While you're thinking of those questions, we're going to move on and look at billing. That was a question we had at the beginning of the call. A lot of you are still on the Supabase free service, which is great for starting out and just kind of testing things. You'll soon find that the project sleeping function of Supabase is a little bit hard to deal with. Your projects will be going to sleep or disabling if they're not being actively used. So just be careful with that. But then the paid version of Supabase, the costs can mount up, especially when you start having a number of projects that are all being used on a minute by minute basis. So there were no questions on secrets, so I'm going to move on to that portion. So we're going to go my root organization, Purple Spiral LLC, that's me. And then we're going to go to billing. And in billing, you can see I'm on the pro plan, and you can see that my monthly invoice should be $25 a month. And that is exactly what I thought it would be. What I didn't realize is that you then have compute fees and things like that. So I've got all of these different apps that are using up computing power. My main app, the whole reason why I got into Famous was so I could write an app for the book that I wrote, Tune In, The Relationship Equalizer. It's a book about relationships and how you can have a more balanced relationship with your partner. And I needed an app to go with that to help complement the book. And so I wrote that. I actually wrote that with another AI app builder, not going to mention their name. I then found Famous and I completely rewrote it, fell in love with Famous, and now I'm here running webinars. And so here you can see I have a load of projects. Some of these are test projects that aren't even working, aren't even being used, and yet kind of they've already used up computing hours, 406 computing hours, because there's back-end processes that are running. And so one lesson that I've just learned now, which I'll discuss next week, the thing I learned this week but I didn't know last week, is that I need to remember to remove my test projects. For example, this weather location maps was a project I created purely just to create a video for my YouTube channel on how to integrate with the Google Map API. And now I'm sitting here being charged, $3 or $6 for those two projects that I started. And so make sure you delete projects that you're not needing. If you created one as a test, delete them. I get $10 credit for my compute because of my subscription, but my projected cost for the month isn't $25. My projected cost for the month is $122. Now, am I worried about this? No, because if my apps are doing all this stuff and they're actually earning me money, then that's great. But if you're still in that testing phase, you will want to keep an eye on these costs to make sure that they're not running away, or you haven't got test projects in there that are using up compute power. So just keep an eye on that. You get to that by going to your organization, then billing, and then scroll down to upcoming invoice. So in 3 days' time, I've been using Supabase since May the 23rd. It seems like a lifetime ago, but it was just less than a month ago. And that you can see the curtains are literally not just open, they're just pulled off the curtain rails here. You can see the invoice for that. And so I paid $25 back in May the 22nd, thinking that that's what I was paying every month. And then I was thinking how great it was that I was being able to add as many projects as I liked. Although we found out today there seems to be a limit with that as well. I need to look into that. But then you've got the compute fees and so forth. And so when you're pricing out your service, make sure you include that in your pricing, that you've got these fees. You're going to be paying for Famous so you can update your code and add new features in the future. You're paying for Supabase because you're going to need something more powerful than the free account. And so make sure that those costs are being taken into account. Brilliant. Any questions on billing before I move on? Doesn't look like it. Awesome. All right. Mock Supabase. Oh, hold on. After we delete the project in Supabase, can we reconnect later again via Famous if we want to resume the project? So if you delete the project in Supabase, you're wiping that data. That the project in Supabase, not the project in Famous. The project in Famous, although it's connected, if you delete the project in Supabase, it's not going to delete the project in Famous. It is going to probably cause a whole heap of errors in Famous because the data that it expected to be there is now not there. But you're not going to be able to recover that once you've deleted that project. One thing I'll look into before our next call is, can you pause a project so that you're not deleting the data, but it's not utilizing any compute power because it's paused? And I don't know the answer to that question, but in fact, let me just quickly see if I can find the answer to that question. And that one, how about this one? So what I'm looking for is, instead of deleting, is there a pause? There's a transfer, so I can transfer it to somebody else. Pause project. Your project will not be accessible while it's paused. Projects on paid plan will always be running. Okay, so I get the privilege of paying and not being able to pause the project. That's great. So if you're deleting it, it's gone. If you want to go back to that project in Famous, you'll need to send Famous a prompt such as, hey, I deleted this project in Supabase. Can we reconnect to a new project in Supabase and create all the tables and settings that we created before? Maybe that will need slightly wording better so it understands it fully. But it knows what tables exist because it's calling those tables. It knows what fields exists because it's utilizing that data. And so it should be able to, with 2 or 3 prompts, recreate that project in Supabase and reconnect it and set the row level security for those tables. So yes, just be careful. The whole reason why, and what project am I in here? Counters. I'm not actually going to delete this, but the whole reason why they make you down the bottom here type in the project name is so you can't accidentally just delete it. You have to really want to delete it. And that's a really great feature that is stopping you making a mistake and going, oh, no, that wasn't the project that I wanted to delete. Any more questions on real Supabase before we go back to mock Supabase? Go to settings in famous project, disconnect the Supabase project, and then go to Supabase and delete the project. You need to disconnect it first. I like just ripping its cord and just go, it's no longer connected to it. Yes, it's going to give you a whole lot of errors in Famous, but then you can ask Famous to solve that later on if you go back to that project. Whereas if you disconnect it, it might remove all the functions for that Supabase project after the project shuts. So if you're thinking you may want to go back to the project, I wouldn't disconnect the Supabase project from Famous. I would just let it think it's still connected until it realizes it's not. That's just what I would do. If there is a thought that you're going to want to come back to that project later on. Cool. Chuck is going to work out what the difference is between ripping its lifeline out without telling it and telling it. So thank you, Chuck. Let us know in the Discord channel what you find out. Good. All right, let's talk about mock Supabase data, which seems to be the issue that a lot of people are having. They create a lovely site and they start using it in the preview here, even the preview online, and it allows them to log in and it allows them to change features. and then they go away and they come back and they refresh the page, and everything that they've just put in there has vanished, and the user that they created is no longer listed in the user table. Lots of things have just changed, and all they did is refresh the page or went back to another session. And the reason for this is because when Famous creates an app, whether it be a web app or a mobile app, when it creates an app, it's creating the look and feel first, and then it's working out the functionality, and then it worries about the connection to Supabase. And at the beginning, it's presenting you with an idea. This is what your app is going to look like. That idea is functional, but it's functional because the mock data, the holding data, the made up data that you're seeing isn't actually in Supabase. It's in XML files in the code. And so when you're updating something, it's updating a temporary XML file, which is then removed when that session ends and you go back to the original. So that way, when you're testing it, you're not messing anything up and you're always going back to that original kind of minimal mock data. But what we need to do is make sure that it's going to use live data. And so, as you saw the prompt when I created, or when I was attempting to create the preview, the test app earlier, I told it to use Supabase from the outset. And what I then asked it to do is to move any mock data it created into the Supabase tables. That way, if I edit it, it stays edited, but also I can see holding information on what is supposed to be there. And so when I'm editing it to what I want to be there, that then saves, because now we're editing it in the Supabase database rather than just a temporary mock file which it creates. So you want to avoid where what I like to do is get away from that mock data as quickly as possible. If I'm creating an app, I don't really want to play with mock data, although it's nice to see what it's going to look like. I want to play with real data and real features and make sure they're working, rather than be testing everything and going, it works. Now I need to make it really work. I just can do it all live, especially when this is a new app. It's not live, no one's using it. And so if they see a few errors or the data isn't quite right, that's not a problem. It's what I would call a lipstick problem. You can fix it with a little bit of lipstick. Not that I wear lipstick, just to clear that up. Rumors are not true. And so that's mock Supabase. Does anybody have any thoughts or any questions on mock Supabase, or they've had any particular issues around what could be linked to mock Supabase that I can help with? All right, while you're thinking of those questions, what did I learn this week that I didn't know last week? And that is the Supabase secrets, making sure that that information is stored in a secret and not in a integration table. I've had to go back to a few of my clients that I've been working with that I've set up integration tables for and go, I've got a better way of doing this. And in fact, those clients that I've set up that way, I've gone back and go, look, we need to jump on a free call just so I can make this use the correct system. And that's been good for me because I feel like I'm making sure that things are using the right systems. When we're learning on the go, we can tend to sort of go down the wrong path. And it's important, once we do learn the right way, to ensure that everything is being done that right way. And Supabase Secrets is definitely one of those. These API keys are not something to just be putting out there willy-nilly. We want to make sure that they're, one, secure, two, easy for the system to access, and so using Supabase Secrets. Any other questions from anybody on any subject? We don't have any mock Supabase questions, so any other questions? I had an entire project disappear after I discovered Famous. I spent 24 hours working on a project only to return and see that it was as if I just started. Can you put the command in the chat to have Supabase use the real data? Yes, I will do that. Why I'm thinking of what that command is, let me show you the prompt wizard. If you log in here and you don't have an account, you can create an account. You will see on the left-hand side prompt snippets. And in here, you can search for things. And anytime I create a prompt for somebody, I've been putting it in here. And so there'll be a chance that there is, here we go, Where do I find mock Supabase data and how do I connect it for real? After the MVP has been created, we remove the mock data and replace it with real database ready for the masses. So here's the prompt. Hey, Bird, can you please connect this? And I'll put this in the chat, but read it out as well. Boom. There we go. Hey, Bud, can you please connect this to real to Supabase and move all mock Supabase data into the real Supabase connection, and then remove the mock Supabase files from the code as they would no longer be needed. And then the important thing, what I call a footer prompt. Please do not change any of the design or content while doing this process. This is really important. When we like the look and feel, Famous and any AI app builder, not just Famous, but we're talking about Famous here. Famous has a tendency of going, oh, you know what? I'd like to change that section over there while I'm doing this. And that could be good, but it also could be bad. I have had a few happy accidents where it's changed something and gone, oh, wow, you've just added that section without me asking. I really love it. Yay. But also I've had where it's stripped out a whole load of stuff that I was perfectly happy with, didn't tell it to remove, and it's removed it. And so, yes, this footer prompt here, please do not change any of the design or content while doing this process. Now, I was talking to a client the other day about my footer prompts, and I use footer prompts a lot, and whether they should be header prompts rather than footer prompts. I don't know if you've ever done one of those silly exams where you're supposed to read through the whole exam before you start answering questions, but also there's a speed element to it, and the first one to finish wins a prize. And so you quickly go through all the questions, you get to the last question, and it says, don't answer any of these questions, put your pencil down, you're finished. I feel like that could be an issue here where we ask it to do something, and then we tell it, hey, don't change anything as far as design or content, then it could be an issue. So I wonder whether my footer prompts maybe should be header prompts instead. But again, I'm testing that and I'll report back. Okay, so let me look at this. I actually have 4 international health, life, masculinity, mindset, relationship coach with 4 international certifications. And I'm writing a book right now, Small World. Awesome. That is cool. Did you create a login in Famous? It should save your. Oh, sorry, you're answering. Who was that? Antron. So your project should be there if you have a login. It did save the project, meaning the project name, but the work I had done in the project was minimal again. I knew. And are you a free account or a paid account? Not that that should matter. Your project should be saved. But that sounds more like a support question. Just for clarity, I don't work for Famous. I'm an independent consultant that has basically just devoted my whole life to Famous over the last month or so. And so any issues that are related directly to the app, accounts, and billing of Famous, you will need to take those up to support@famous.ai, and they will help you with that area. All right. So I think that is all the questions. If I missed one, quickly shout now, because I am going to talk about how we can, or how I can help you with your projects and moving forward. I have 3 possibilities. One, I have a very simple club, which is basically what this website here is going to turn into. And that club allows you to jump on 15-minute calls with me at any time to get over a niggle. So you pay, it's normally $47 a month. You can pay $37 a month if you sign up during the webinar, and you can create 15-minute calls with me one at a time. So you can't have 10 in the future booked. You can book 15-minute calls in the future, one at a time. And then you jump on a call with me and we look at a particular issue, solve a prompting issue, solve an error, whatever it might be. And that's for one flat fee. Currently, as you're on the webinar, it's just $37 per month for that. I will give you the URL for that in the chat. So that is basically for anybody that just needs that little bit of help. And that offer for the 37 is on until June the 30th. The second thing that I can help you with is my done with you services. This is basically where we jump on. The first call is an hour and 15 minutes. and we work together and I advise you on what your next step should be, how to solve problems. If you're just starting, that starting prompt, getting that foundation right. If you've already started, I will fix those errors that you're having. I'll point you in the right direction of how to add the feature that you want to add but can't work out. And so that first call for any project is normally 197, and then each subsequent hour is 97. So you start off with that kind of first call, we fix a lot of stuff, and then if you need subsequent calls, they're discounted to 97. I do have an offer for that, which is here, which if you book 3 calls in one, so the 197 and 297 calls, it is reduced to just 291 for those 3 calls. So it's effectively, you don't pay the extra for that first call. And the link for that is also in the chat. Now, these are going to be limited. I can't do hundreds of these because this is me you're working with. I don't work with anybody else. So you're just working with me the whole time. And so that is there. That gives you a saving of $100 on that. So that's 3 hours and 15 minutes of time. You're working with me, and in that time, we should be able to fix all your issues, work out new features, and get you to a point where hopefully you're ready to launch a minimal viable product. And then the last of all, and that is my done with you, done for you. That was my done for you service. You've come to the point where you've decided on what your idea is. You really want this app. You've tested out Famous and you've realized this is a lot of work. And yes, it is a lot of work. I have spent hours and hours and hours. I would actually like to work out how many hours I've spent in Famous. Maybe Famous has a time log on how many hours I've spent logged in and working away on, but many hundreds and hundreds of hours in the last 6 weeks. And so I have a done for you service, which is basically we jump on a 60-minute strategy call. We talk about what your app is going to do. And then in 28 days, I deliver you your working app with all the features that we've agreed on and get you ready to launch either on the web or in the app stores. And that is normally $4,500. However, if you go to this page, at the top it says, or when you go to buy now, it says to use webinar 20 as the launch code, and that will save you some money. I believe it is $500 off, and there is a split pay for that, so you can pay over 2 payments, and that will enable you to budget. And in 28 days time, your app will be launched and ready to go. So let me just go back to my screen here. This one. Yes. And so the club is great if you just need that little bit of help and you're kind of floating and flying forward. The done with you is for those people that just like, you know what, I just need someone to hold my hand and get this done. And then the done for you is for those people that really want to just hand off the project to somebody else and know that it's going to be done in excellence. And so those 3 projects are there. The discounts are only available until 12 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. So it is now Friday, 20th of June. If you're watching the video of this and it's already past midday on the 21st of June, I'm sorry, those discounts are no longer thank you for watching, and I'm still excellent value, and so you can still utilize me. If you haven't already, sign up for the Prompt Wizard. The Prompt Wizard is fantastic. Long as I can, I'm going to keep it free. The point that is using too many resources, and then it's going to be moved into only available to my club members, and will probably happen in the next month or so. So in the meantime, go ahead and register for the Prompt Wizard. And the Prompt Wizard is actually a really good example of a web app. It has features that are only available to guests, or sorry, only available to logged in users and not available to guests. It has integrations with OpenAI. It has integrations with AP, has lots of other little integrations in the back end Does have an admin panel. How can let me just move this out of the screen share a second. I want to go to the admin panel while you're not looking and get away from the user table just so that you can't see all my users. And okay, here we go. And then put that back. Haha. All right, so here is the admin panel. I'm allowed in because we've got that is underscore admin bool. How do you sign up for the prompt wizard? Good question, Sean. I will put the address in the chat. And I think that's right. Tell me if it's wrong. So here is the back end of the system. So remember I told you that we linked with the API. I can go ahead here and sync all the videos. So jump from 33 to 34 because I uploaded one this morning about the new code search. And that's now in there. It's syncing all of the times of the videos, the amount of views that those videos have had. And then here we've got the training of the bots and then also statistics of users, how many users there are, not very many, how many prompts they've done. So right now there's more users than prompts. So that means some people have signed in and not actually used the prompt builder. And so this is a really nice admin panel that allows you to system completely developed with Famous. This whole project was completely designed with famous.ai. You see here, front and back end middleware is all designed with famous.ai. So we've got 5 minutes left of our call. Is there any other questions that you may have that I can answer? If not, I really appreciate you coming on this call. This call is going to be every Friday, currently at 12 p.m. Eastern. There's a lot of people looking at times that are not the day. Let me ask you this question, if you don't mind. Put a 1 in the chat if this time is good for you. Put a 2 in the chat if you prefer another time in the week. And let's see. All right. So we've got a few. You're welcome, Patrick. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you all. Do what I do because of you guys. I love doing this. In a previous life, I did this for a different ecosystem. For those of you that know Infusionsoft, used to be the top worldwide consultant for Infusionsoft, 3 years running. They flew me all over the world. They bought me Camaros and some things like that. In this ecosystem, I'm finding just I can be the person that I used to be for Infusionsoft for an amazing software package, which is famous, and love it. And any feedback you can give me in my screen, I appreciate that feedback. Please do DM me in Discord, through one of my sites or whatever. Please give me that feedback. I want to get better. I want to add as much value as I can to you. I appreciate you all. Thanks a lot.